Oh,
Shit.
got one. Their dads always leave. You forgot that stereotype.
Damn, bro, you got the whole squad laughing.
What I want to know if was it long for like a purpose? Like, what was the purpose of having this this dance sequence that lasted like 2 minutes?
The 90s,
might have been longer than that. It might have been longer than that.
The early 90s, late 80s was a crazy time, bro.
I
It was
just want
a
to know
crazy time.
What are you trying to tell me?
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
It's props, if that counts their own thing.
Latino heritage, John. Don't forget.
Hey, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. Yo, Bryan, I don't know if this
is excited for that.
It's Latino Heritage Month, and I don't need to be racist what I'm about to do. So, like, no disrespect, but I got these on my wall when I was in Mexico, right? I was in Cozumel, actually. So I got some luchador masks. Just like, like, all right.
Then it goes a little something like.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Film Dissection. You're joined by the hosts, me, Tim Gagen,
Bryan Jiminez,
Yusef Shah.
And today we are joined by a special guest.
Will House.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so today we're reviewing, this is Yusef's pick for today, and it's Spike Lee's 1989 film, Do the Right Thing. And yeah. Yusef, you wanna talk on it? Or anyone?
First. I want to learn more about Will because I just met him like 5 minutes ago.
That's true. Yeah.
So Will, yeah, tell the people about yourself.
All right. Well, currently I'm a junior enrolled at the University of Delaware. I've known Yusef for almost 10 years now, since you first met my younger brother Noel way back in elementary school or middle school. Mm-hmm. One of my personal favorite hobbies, I guess, is the car scene. I could consider myself a car enthusiast, so that's always something I love to do. Watching movies all the time, literally all the time. I watch movies, so yeah.
Good hobby to have.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't know, we had Will's younger brother on here for our Meet the Guest episode, the whole house. So now you're getting to meet the second house. So
the whole family tree.
Whole family tree.
We'll get everyone eventually.
I have a quick question for Will.
You didn't know Noel was on the show? Oh yeah, he was on here on episode 5. Him, Matt, and Mike. Mike were on here.
I was gonna say Mike sounded like the right name.
Yeah, it was a wild episode to say the least, but it was lit.
Talking about a lot.
Yeah, but it's lit. So, guys,
I want to ask Will just one question. One question for Will. Has Yusef always had the drip?
Yusef doesn't look so confident about this.
Yusef's always bragging about he's always dripping, but we've known him for 10 years. I mean, you're the best person to ask.
Always does. Always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bryan tried to play me. You try to play me.
Yusef, I don't mean this as an insult, but you kind of reminded me of Bugging a little bit.
Bugging out?
Yeah,
the glasses.
Yeah, the glasses. I think.
Yeah.
I think a combination of him and Mookie.
Mookie, yeah.
Maybe it's because the hair. The hair and the glasses, I think.
Whenever I tell people I'm in the film, they always say, "Oh, you're gonna be the next Spike Lee," or they'll be like, "Oh, you kind of look like Spike Lee," and I'm just like, "Is that the only black director you know, or do I actually look like Spike Lee?"
On my phone, I have you with Spike Lee, actually.
Spike Lee, great, perfect.
Actually, I kind of agree with you guys now.
Wow.
I never really paid attention to that, but you kind of look like Spike Lee.
Great, I guess I'm Spike Lee now.
If you want, I can change your name to Jordan Peele. If that makes it any better.
It does make a lot better. It makes it a lot better. I would appreciate
or what's
that.
His name?
Ryan Coogler. We're just about to name every black
director. Every black director.
Just go through the
What's
list.
his name? Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen.
Who else is there?
I don't think I've actually ever seen any Steve McQueen movies, have I? Steve McQueen is a white man, my friend.
No, there's a white one and there's a black.
Oh, there is Steve McQueen, the British director. Oh, I see. What has he made?
It's kind of confusing. There's 2 Steve McQueen directors.
He made 12 Years a Slave. Nice.
Nice.
But
I'm just gonna search up black directors.
this is about to get nasty real quick.
Okay.
Damn, I don't really know that. Oh, Denzel Washington, if that counts. He's written some stuff.
Yeah,
I meant Denzel.
he did right. Yeah,
He's a director.
He directed and written Fences, which was an adaptation on what's that one play called? A Death of a Salesman. Is an adaptation on that book.
Damn, there's not that many people here that I like really know.
Yeah, there's not that many, but there's some good ones.
John Singleton, that name sounds familiar.
Who?
John Singleton?
John Singleton. Yeah, no, that.
He did Boys in the Hood. He did Boys in the Hood.
Oh, Johnson.
Oh.
Bro, I need to watch Boys in the Hood. Like,
I've never seen it.
yeah.
Oh, Barry Jenkins, I know him.
I mean,
John Singleton made Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice, Shaft.
Guys, I think we're getting sidetracked.
Let's hop right into it, boys. Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee. Before we really get into detail, what are some initial thoughts on the movie?
So I got a really big one that I kind of felt that I really had to share. I don't know why, but through most of it, and mainly in the opening scenes, it really felt like a Quentin Tarantino movie.
I can see that.
I don't know why, but it just had that feeling to it. You know, panning between, you know, like a lot of different people at once, and then I don't know, the not you know, fully you know, best trained actors, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just had felt really human.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It really kind of just, the story is more character based than it is story based. Mm-hmm. I know exactly what you're saying. I do feel like, and the thing is, I don't know.
Something I was thinking when I saw this movie is like it really felt like kind of like a theater production almost. Like it really felt like theatrical.
Mm-hmm. That's how all Spike Lee's movies are. His characters are always very OD theatrical. That's just like his style. It's very overdramatic.
But I wouldn't say it felt Quentin Tarantino-esque. It felt very unique and it felt very. I've only seen one of the Spike Lee movies, so I can't really compare it. But it felt very.
There's not enough blood for it to be a Quentin Tarantino movie, bro. There's not enough blood.
It's true.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that it is, but I just kind of get that feeling.
No, I know what Will's saying.
It's quick editing.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Will's talking about like the way the story is based in terms of like the dialogue, the interactions between characters, and how the story is like based more around the characters than the actual what's going on itself. I understand exactly what he means by it. I don't think he means like style in terms of the way it was filmed. Which is,
I agree with that. Yeah, very dialogue heavy.
Mm-hmm. But I like that. Obviously, I'm a big Tarantino guy, so I like that. But
I don't know anyone that isn't, at least here.
Exactly. But yeah, let's hop right into it, guys. So
I thought it felt very unique, and it was like every, you know, some parts were like interesting, you could say, but it was very. I liked a lot of how each shot looked and how everything, you know, kind of the camera work and the choreography was. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a pretty seemed like a small set, like this kind of a few blocks.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was one singular block that it was all filmed on.
Yeah, but everything was had a lot of color to it, had a lot of contrast, and it was very vibrant and very full of life. Mm-hmm. And every shot in this movie looked very. I thought it was very well done.
Mm-hmm.
I see. For me, it made me feel racist.
I can't see fucking shit out of this thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
It made me think twice about you know, where I stand. Just because I feel that's kind of the point. It was kind of to make you think, you know, where do you stand, you know, and it made me, you know, maybe think a couple of things twice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad it did, Brian. I'm really happy to hear that it made you think twice. It made me think twice as well. Not necessarily where I stand, but just like how we plan to accomplish our goals, as a society. You know what I mean? Because I think this. What were you about to say, Tom?
I just wanted to say this movie just felt very relevant. Even if it was 30 plus years ago, I feel like you can show it at any point in time, and it could feel fresh. aside from like kind of the like fashion and like some of the like slang and stuff and like some of that kind of stuff, like they did some weird like hand gestures and stuff like that all the time. Besides that stuff, the core values of the movie, I mean, it added to like I don't know, the whole thing, but overall the movie felt very like it could be watched at any point in time and it wouldn't like feel like dated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
I think it's just the themes that are relevant. Like I think some of the themes in the movie are like racial resentment, economic anxiety, and racial tension, which I feel are just they're always going to be there. I feel like,
yeah,
especially in America, there'll always be in the news cycle somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like the movie will almost always be applicable. I mean, almost every shot in the movie, kind of going back, felt meaningful in some way, I think. Nothing felt like it was really wasted. Like, everything was purposeful. Going back to the point about having it, always be relevant. I'm like thinking back and up from the original filming of the movie to now, it never really feels like it could have like gone out of style, quote unquote.
I agree 100%. So I want to say, let's kind of go through it, scene by scene, not really scene by scene, but like act by act, So let's kind of like, we start off in the movie, we're introduced to...
Wait, before you get too deep into the movie, I just want to mention that like first opening dance scene.
Oh yeah.
That went on for a couple minutes.
That felt long.
It was very long. It was long.
I was so confused what was going on.
It was an interesting way to start the movie. I gotta say, I was like every second it was going on, I was like, all right, it's gotta end at some point. It's gotta end.
I think that's probably the most I don't know, the one thing that might have been able to be taken out possibly.
What I want to know if it was in long for like a purpose. Like, what was the purpose of having this dance sequence that lasted like 2 minutes?
It might have been longer than that.
The early 90s, late 80s was a crazy time, bro.
I just want to know
crazy time.
What are you trying to tell me?
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Bro, it was a wild time. And you can tell it was a wild time because Spike Lee has a very distinct style, which I think I talked about, like how it is OD and kind of not all over the place, but like it's just like everything is like in terms of like you take a character, it's turned up to like 100.
It really is. Yeah. Every character is like full of hyper and like full of energy most of the time.
And that's like his style, which is like it fits. Which I think why some of his movies in like the 2000s kind of time frame just aren't that good and aren't that memorable because the style just doesn't fit the time. We're kind of past this, but his earlier works in like the late 80s, early 90s, those movies are like really good because that's just like the late 80s, 90s as a whole, just like OD, very over the top. Like you look at shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Martin, like Saved by the, like all those type of shows that are coming out at the time like these movies were coming out. These movies fit the style of those shows, just like almost like everything's kind of popping at you. It's always, that's a good way to explain it. If you guys get what I mean by that, like everything's just like it's really popped out and just turned all the way up.
Yeah, in pretty much every way, in color and sound and energy. Was a very active period of time.
Oh, well, we'll go.
He's back.
There he is.
Something out.
I think we can move on from the opening of the movie.
So we're introduced to a character played by Spike Lee known as Mookie. Mookie, for lack of a better term, is a bum. Like everybody.
That's the great thing I was gonna say.
Yeah, he's a bum.
Yeah.
Not a very hardworking individual.
Nah.
Just kind of floating around.
Yeah, doesn't really take shit serious. And it's kind of just like, he has a lot of responsibilities in life, but he doesn't take those responsibilities as seriously as he should have. Like,
he's a kid.
Yeah, he's a kid. His sister, like, pays the majority of the rent. And, like, he has a job now, but, like, he takes, like, 2-hour-long breaks in between his job. Like,
Really wasn't doing much.
Exactly. So he's
wasn't a hard job.
It really isn't. It's just he's a pizza delivery boy, but doesn't have to deliver by car. He delivers by foot. He's only delivering through the neighborhood, so it's just like, I don't know, like, that's just kind of funny. Mookie's a funny character. You know, it just just typical like bum. Like, other than that, and then we're introduced to an Italian family who owns Sal's famous pizzeria. Mm-hmm. And
I don't know if they could have picked more stereotypical Italian American New Yorkers over those roles.
And that's a theme throughout this movie. Is stereotypes are played up like all the
way. 100.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? You got black, you got Italian, you got Asian.
Tell that dog to shut the fuck up. That
trying to get out.
Chill.
What was it? You got
Latinos.
Latino.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The cops, if that counts as their own thing.
Latino heritage, John. Don't forget.
Hey, yes sir. Yo, Bryan, I don't know if this
is excited for that.
It's Latino Heritage Month, and I don't need to be racist what I'm about to do, so like no disrespect, but I got these on my wall when I was in Mexico, right? I was in Cozumel actually, so I got some luchador masks. Just like, like, all right, that does not seem good. Seeing as we're about to get into some serious shit, but I do got some luchador masks. You know,
Yusef, I want you to wear that for the rest of this podcast.
Like, if that's what we have to do, then that's what we have. Oh wait, I can't do it with the headphones on. Yeah, not with the headphones.
Wait, can I just see you put it on with the headphones over it?
All right,
with the headphones over it.
Yeah.
This is gonna be like our thumbnail. With Mexican Heritage Month?
Booyaka 619. These Jones don't fit my face. They're actually like too small. They kind of hurt.
I can tell.
Yeah. But I got Rey Mysterio and I got a Sin Cara mask. So yeah, you know.
Thank you, Yusef. I'm honored.
He's proud of you.
Very.
You know, because I love my fellow Latino Americans. As like a microaggression as this moment on the podcast might be, I do love my fellow Latino Americans because we go through the same stuff. So we got to be in this together.
Were there any other races in this movie that were touched on? I don't think so, right?
Koreans.
Yeah,
there's that one Korean family across the street. Oh, you did?
Yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Like all the main ones. And then so we meet Sal, Vito, and Pino, and Sal's the owner of the shop. He's the dad of the two brothers.
Vito's the older one, right?
Pino's
Vito's the passive one. Pino's the aggressive one. The one that's always trying to beat someone up, basically.
Yeah.
Pino's the one played by John Turturro.
Transformers.
Yes, sir. He is in Transformers. That's exactly what I'm talking. Yeah, he's in 3 Transformers. I think he's in 4 actually. 4 Transformers movies. I love John Turturro. That guy is amazing.
Funny.
He is hilarious. And he's racially.
He's the guy from The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, he's racially ambiguous as well, so you can play a multitude of minorities.
He definitely.
I don't know why, but Pino pissed me off throughout the entire movie.
I think he pissed all of us off. Yeah, he pissed.
Into the shit he would say.
Yeah, it was.
They have him not doing anything.
Huh?
Where he's pissed off that he wasn't doing anything.
But they're all not doing anything.
Not even that. It's the way that's the things he said, bro.
Yeah.
Because they're all
bummed, Pino's the younger one.
Vito's the younger one.
Vito's.
Yeah.
He's a troll one. He's friends with
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was looking at pictures and I got them mixed up. Yeah, Vito's younger. I thought talking about Vito. I'm like, Vito was kind of chill.
Yeah, they're proud Italians. They have the wall of great Italian Americans.
Yes,
I have one of them right here.
Yeah, yes, sir.
They're very proud of their culture, but I feel sometimes throughout the movie they kind of just they think they're the best, which at least the issues
they go a bit too far.
Yeah.
Saying some things that shouldn't be said.
But the thing, let's talk about Sal is the actual owner of the pizza shop, and at first he seems like pretty chill. I feel he's the most logical of like the whole family, right? He's
Yeah.
pretty okay with Mookie. He has a good like boss and employee relationship. He was likable at first. I did like Sal. So what would happen later on in the movie kind of like, made me feel some type of way because I did like this guy at first.
Yeah.
I mean, even towards the end when he,
That's what he does?
What? No, yeah, like right before that, the scene where, where he tells Mookie to open up the door, right? And let the guys in. He said, this is the last 4, I'll, just do it on the house, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, up until that point, I, like, didn't have too much of an issue with him. And then afterwards, I'm like, that was just so unnecessary.
Yeah. Honestly, let's get into some character dissection, since we're here with the characters. Let's talk about Sal, since we're on the topic of Sal. Here's what I say about Sal, and maybe I'm in the unpopular opinion, but I feel like Sal, for the most part of this film, is a pretty reasonable guy, like, compared to what is said from his son. Because usually it's the other way around. Usually, like, the sons are, like, the more reasonable, and, like, the dad is stuck in his ways. But Sal is, like, he explains, he has a talk with Pino, like, look, I've watched these kids, grow up. I watched the old get older. I've been here like a long time. Like these are good people, It's just like, why are you listening to what your friends say about these people? They're not putting money in your pocket. He says that, and the thing is like, and I think like, I wouldn't say that Sal himself is racist. Like I think like the whole wall of fame thing. It's kind of just he's Italian. He's gonna have a strong Italian.
It's his restaurant.
Yeah. Exactly, it's his restaurant. I mean, like me, like I'm a black guy. I want to have black men like on my walls if I own the restaurant.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
And
Bug It Out has a fair point in terms of black people spend all their money here. Like no Italians spend their money here like we do. So maybe we should have a say. He's got a fair point there. But at the end of the day, it is his store. And then it's just.
And it's not like he's like being openly racist about it. It's like, these are just Italian people that made it. They're in an Italian store. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually just about to say
there's nothing technically wrong with what happens there. It's fair game, nothing bad.
I mean, it's an Italian restaurant. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Right? Especially in the 80s.
I really want to try their food, though. I want to know if it's that good.
No, the pizza looked very mid to me. I'm not gonna lie. It looked very, very mid. It looked like Domino's. I was not rocking with the way that pizza looked. Yeah.
I feel like those types of pizza places do seem to have. That's where you like get some pretty good pizza.
I mean,
the best places are the ones that don't look very professional. Just look like you got some guys on the counter. It's just like, all right, cool. This is like my first day out here.
No, it's crazy though. Sal's perfectly casted because he looks like your typical pizza store owner. Because I walked into, I'm not gonna say what store, but like of a pizza place I go to fairly often, and the main guy who I know who owns the place looks exactly like Sal. Not like exactly like him, but the build is the same. It's like kind of tall, always leaning like this, got the apron down here, got the gut, white T-shirt on, like.
I know exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's this person I know that looked exactly like him, but just younger.
Exactly. It's just like Sal is perfectly casted. I think it's great, man. Because he looks like he owns a pizza spot. But yeah, so...
Yeah, Sal wasn't that bad of a guy. I mean, he was definitely well respected in the community. They all liked this pizza, and he respected the community back. And he wasn't like openly racist. He liked the community and he helped out with them. Like he helped out with the mayor, and I think he did some other like things throughout the day.
Oh, he was trying to give some money to Smiley. He was trying to give some money to Smiley when
when
Pino were going after. He's like, Smiley, come here, like here. He's like, I got some. He's about to try to give him some money. It's just like
the thing is like he's just dealing with so much shit throughout the day. Plus, it's a big thing is the heat is a big thing about it with his, which is both literal thing and then a metaphorical thing.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone have anything else like to mention on like Sal's character and how they felt about him?
I think we can all agree he was like one of the most important and interesting and one of the best characters in the movie. But I think that's definitely Spike Lee does what he wants you to do. Like he wants you to feel a certain way about these characters, I think he kind of pulls the strings in a perfect way, especially with Sal's character.
And I think Sal is a good example of a dynamic character. When I remember when we talked about Shang-Chi, like we talked about the Mandarin, and his father, and how like you kind of hate him at some points, but then you can understand his perspective at some points, and he kind of pulls you back in. And Sal's another perfect example of like what a dynamic character should look like in terms of he does some things that frustrate you, and I think the things that frustrate you most come between the interactions between him bugging out and Radio Raheem. But the way he treats the rest of the people who come to the store, you kind of like, well, maybe he is kind of a stand-up guy. And these two are just the, it's just kind of like, the exceptions to this. Because when he tries, let's go further. When bugging out is initially trying to boycott Sal's Pizzeria, everyone's like, are you out your damn mind? I ain't got no problem with Sal. Sal's been good to me all these years. He sells pizza for a low price, gives me good pizza, treats me like...
Although, except for the extra cheese for $2.
Yeah.
That seems like a bit of a cop-out. Who spends $2 for extra cheese?
No, I think the extra cheese, I think it's $2 total. Not $2 just
for
cheese.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I thought it was $2 extra.
No, I know he said cheese is extra $2, but I think he meant like... Because a normal slice is $1.50, so I'm assuming if you want a slice with extra cheese, it'd be $2.
Oh, okay, well that's more reasonable. I thought I was talking $2
yeah,
extra.
$4 slice of pizza, you must be out your damn mind. That nigga smoking dick if he $1,000 pounds. And it's a small.
Well, that's why I thought everyone was so upset every time they asked for extra cheese.
That shit is crazy. $4 slice of pizza. I would tell Sal to go fuck himself.
I mean, Sal's got the market apparently.
Clearly. But yeah, and I think like seeing the way he interacts with different characters is very interesting because he does interact with everybody very differently. Like the way he treats Mookie, to the way he treats Pino, to the way he treats Jay, to the way he treats Bugging Out, and all the other guys like the mayor. Like it really is a person by. It's not because he doesn't treat a group of people one day. It really is a person by person basis. And that's how you kind of see, and I think that's what people need to like understand. Like, I think sometimes with these types of characters. Oh, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say something I noticed about his character throughout the show, or at least I didn't make the full connection to like right about now, is that each other character he interacts with based off how they interact with him.
So how they treat him.
Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a complicated, idea, but like think about it, right? When Gagen came in, she came in, greeted him, he greeted her, talked about how just how was life and everything, and then he was like, oh yeah, you're one of my, really good customers. Here you go. It's on the house. Whatever you want, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, as the movie goes on, you kind of just start to pick up on that. I guess. I don't know.
Definitely, for sure. But it really is. He really is. I think probably the most realistic character in the term the way he views life and I guess views people. I'd say that he's the most fully fleshed and accumulated character in this film. But let's continue. We were talking about the first couple scenes where Mookie and opens up the shop, and this is where we kind of are introduced to kind of like the setting that they're in. So this is, if I'm not mistaken, they're in like Brooklyn, right?
Yeah,
1980s, late 80s Brooklyn, because the movie came out in 89. Yeah, and I would say like Spike Lee does a great job of like portraying this area and the different type of people that are in this area. Because as stereotypical and OD this movie is, a lot of the characters you see are fairly like realistic. Like you grow up in like certain areas. You got the local crackhead. That's the mayor in this. You got the old like grandmother that everyone kind of respects. That's like mother, sister. Oh, that's another thing I noticed. Everyone in this movie has a nickname. Almost rarely any characters go by their actual name. Mookie, Mayor.
I think probably just the Italians. are probably the only ones that
Exactly.
actually really go by their actual name.
Mother, sister.
I guess kind of separates them from everyone else in the community.
Nicknames because they're all so close to each other. And once you reach a certain level of a connection with someone, you start calling them by their nicknames, right? That's why
that kind of bars out the towns with everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
That is true. I got a question for you guys before we really get into this. What about Brian? What did you want to say? You want to get into?
No, I was want to hear your question.
He's nervous. He's trembling.
Why the hell is Spike Lee the main character of this story?
Because he can be.
Samuel L. Jackson, Martin Lawrence, John Turturro in this film. Yet he, the worst actor of the entire cast of the film, his sister who plays Jay in this movie, like his actual sister who plays his sister in the movie, is also a really good actress. Spike Lee is not that great of an actor. So why is he the main character?
He wants the clout.
Reminds me of Soldier Boy, but I don't know why.
He did it first.
I don't know why.
This is a strange guy. I don't know.
He does this in a lot of his films too. It's not just this one.
But he often kind of plays like the same guy. Like, I feel like there's not much.
I guess he fits that role.
Yeah.
I always knows how to fit that role pretty well.
I just feel like there's not. Have you guys seen She's Gotta Have It?
No.
Well, there's a character called Mars Blackman.
No.
And like Mars Blackman and Mookie aren't really that different in terms of characters. Like, Mars Blackman's just slightly more funny. That's about it. But they're like the same guy. So I just feel like he's a bit of a static actor. So,
Who would you have casted then instead of Spike Lee? Then?
Literally anyone else.
I mean, but then again, it's like he's the least entertaining one, so you wouldn't want to spend all your talent on that. I mean, it works with everyone else with who they are because they got more energy to them. While Mookie is kind of more so like.
I think we're smart about it. They would have casted Will Smith in the '90s to play Mookie.
Ooh, that would have been a good choice.
You know how much clout?
But then Mookie would have been like I think too likable.
Will Smith can act. He can be a dick.
Again, he would have been too likable, but he's also in the movie surrounded by Martin Lawrence, John Turturro, and Samuel L. Jackson. Like,
and the guy from Transformers.
John Turturro.
Do you think that make the unlikable character?
Who would be the most likely?
Can we just appreciate the fact that Bug now is played by the same guy who does Gus?
Yeah. Spike Lee does a lot of movies with that guy. He's in a lot of Spike Lee's movies. I checked like his cast list. They like work together.
Like that dude is such an intimidating actor. Like when he plays like a villain, he really plays a good villain.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, you can't even tell they're the same people. He's such a goofy character in this movie, versus like Gus or like whoever plays in the Mandalorian. I forget his name, but either way, he's such a contrast. So crazy to me.
I agree. He's a good actor, but yes, like I said, a lot of good actors. Yet none of them play the main character. They all kind of play side characters, which I think is so funny. Well, I think but Tim, as you said, I actually just kind of realized that makes sense. Like, the rest of the story really isn't like about Mookie per se. Mookie kind of shows us the rest of the characters kind of like as he goes through each one.
So the whole neighborhood is what's going on with them, basically.
Yeah, so I think that is really cool. So the thing about Mookie kind of goes throughout the story, just like delivering pizzas, but like he kind of like breaks in between. And we kind of
like half and half.
Yeah, we're kind of introduced to like different characters, but like through Mookie. I think one of the first we're introduced to the mayor, who's like the local crackhead. We know him to be a drunk, but
he wants to keep the peace at the same time.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And oddly enough,
I noticed he was one of the only like characters that throughout the entire movie that was like for some reason like really focused or really centered around the actual title of the movie. Events, I guess. Right. Like, I mean, do the right thing. The entire movie, all he was trying to do was the right thing.
You're right.
No matter what it was.
Do you think, well, I got a question for you. Do you think there's a bit of irony in the mayor's character?
I mean, yeah.
What sense?
He himself isn't doing the right thing because he is an alcoholic, right?
Yeah, but
he got a kid to buy him beer, or try to buy him beer.
I mean, I agree with you. I think there is a little bit of irony in it, but at the same time, you know, it's you know, just kind of his character and who he is. Granted, you know, the other side of it is that he has good intentions and is always trying to do the right thing. So I mean, you know, the actions make a person.
It's not a bad person.
Well, what I mean, I guess to clarify what I meant by that, like, is he's like the local drunk, the local homeless guy, yet he's the voice of reason throughout this movie. And is anyone like? And I think that's just so interesting that the guy who would most likely have the least amount of sense has the most sense. He saves the kid from being hit by that car. He tells people not to like touch sows because it's only going to make things worse. You know, things like that. He has conversations with Mookie. He even says, "Do the right thing" to Mookie, and I wrote down when he says, "Always do the right thing." I wrote roll credits. You guys.
Was that like half an hour into the movie?
Yeah. So I was like roll credits, but
scene end.
I just think that it's just that part was just like so interesting. It's like his character, it's just a bit ironic, like in terms of like how he, when his actions don't seem reasonable, is always the voice of reason. It is the only person really doing the right thing. You know, the least reliable character of sorts. So I don't know. I thought that was very interesting.
I wanted to ask you guys, who was your favorite character overall?
Singular character?
Yeah, just try to pick your top one or two, three. I don't care. You got you thinking now, huh?
Well, how about you, Brian?
Probably. Sweet Dick Willie.
Yeah, one of those guys is pretty good.
Say that.
Bro, they were so funny. That little trio, oh my god.
Oh, maybe Samuel Jackson's character, the radio DJ.
Oh yeah, he's a good one. Yeah. Yo,
but they're not too involved.
I actually really like the mayor.
Yeah, I'd say the mayor of Sal.
Throughout the whole movie.
Absolutely.
It wasn't really a point where like I didn't think it was boring to watch him.
I like the guy with the Larry Bird jersey. The guy with the Larry Bird jersey. That's on me.
Fuck that guy. He stepped on bugging out. Wait, I got $5. Whoever knows what pair of Jordans those were. $5. Whoever knows what pair of Jordans.
I don't know my shoes.
I don't even remember them.
Let me think.
They were Oreo 4s.
What?
Actually, wait, were they Oreo or were they cements? Actually, it might have been cements. Hold on.
You said you got it wrong?
Got it wrong.
No, let me check.
Bro.
No one wins.
OG. No, I think it actually might be. No, yeah, they were OG. They were OG cements. My fault. Not worries.
Damn, Yusef.
Don't worry, I'm gonna cut that out so niggas will never know I said Oreo
4. Can't do that.
That's on you, Yusef.
Who can't do it? Tim, who can't? I edit the podcast. I can do whatever the hell I want.
Question: Was that
Yusef? Don't beat the cops over here, okay?
So was that a product placement then? Right?
For Jordans?
That has to be a product. Yeah, that has to be a product placement, right?
I don't think it was.
Definitely
I think that was just.
Unless Mike would have handed some money.
Because I know Spike Lee is like pretty big in like the shoe game. I know that.
Spike Lee made a commercial for Air Jordans.
Saying. So I mean, I feel that's a product placement, bro. If you're already friends with.
You mean in the movie? Oh yeah. That was 100%. Yeah. I was gonna say product placement here.
Nike looking at our shit, bro.
Yeah. Mike need to hand over some of them bills. What is he talking about? But nah. But
no, we're the best market for advertising Nikes. You know.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to buy Nikes. Comes to us.
Yeah.
Guys, I think we're getting sidetracked.
For this movie, there's racial tension with everyone, even like the minorities. They were all a bit of, said some racy things at times.
And
so no one was really exempt here. No one was pretty cool. I mean, there were some clean characters that were fine. All the groups had some sort of dirt on them in some way.
Exactly. And something I wrote down was, this movie portrays the conflict between minority groups. And I go, you wonder why there's so much animosity between those who share the similar struggles. And, like, it was actually funny. Like, I've been talking to some people about this, just, like, how, like, other minorities hate other minorities. Like, there's a lot of beef, especially, like, nowadays between, like, the African-American community and the Asian community. And it's just portrayed, I think, really well. And, the Korean shop, when they were going in it, like, especially when the mayor was there and he was trying to buy roses, and they were like, that's very expensive, like, can you afford that? And then Radio Raheem was in there trying to buy D batteries. He was being racist towards them, like telling them they should speak English and all this stuff, like really kind of attacking them, you know, for
Everyone's pretty hostile
exactly.
pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys familiar with the 1992 riots?
Yeah, the LA
Angeles?
Mm-hmm.
That was after the CDA.
Or I don't know if there's any connection there, but when I saw the whole interaction with the Korean family, I automatically thought there was like some sort of like connection there between the riots and the racial tension. But I'm not sure if I'm just reaching for something at that point.
Yeah. So my question is to all of you is, like, why do you think there's so much animosity and hatred between those who share the same struggles? In this case, being minority groups.
Between the Asian and the African American?
All
I
of them.
think
There's Asians,
everyone in the
African
neighborhood.
Americans,
Everyone in the neighborhood.
Latin Americans and African Americans, like all of them.
Well, the African Americans, I know there was one scene where there was the three old guys that just were chilling outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
They kept saying how is it that these guys came in and they got their own shop and they're taking all their money. So I feel one of them is like resentment because they realized that they did what they couldn't do and they're doing it better than they could ever, and they go to them for everything. Even in the end, one of the guys was like, "Shut up, bro! Like, we buy all their stuff. Like, just it's accepted at this point."
Mm-hmm.
But the other two guys are just like, they're old and just resentful for no reason at all. But you know,
absolutely. Will, you had something?
Yeah, I'm gonna answer your question with a question.
Mm-hmm.
Now, through personal conversations, right? You just posed a question that why do other minority groups hate or act in a hateful way towards other minority groups, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
On a couple of occasions, through personal conversations, you have talked about, I don't know if I should say this, you talked about, I don't know if this specifically is a joke or if you genuinely mean this, but you've talked about, disliking other actions of other black people. I'm not going to say anything else, but what is your reasoning behind?
You mean when I said difference between black people and niggers? Yeah. It becomes
I can't say the whole thing. I can't do that.
The age-old Chris Rock statement. Difference between there's black people and there's niggers.
V5 4-figure boy, I hate a nigga.
Please educate us, you said.
Tino was saying, right?
Yeah. So, what Tito was
My
saying.
answer to your question is a question for you to answer about your own question.
Okay.
I'll take down notes for this.
So first things first, Tim. Before we get on that, what Pino was saying is not at all.
Yeah, I know. Pino's wrong in all cases.
Yeah.
We all know that. Pino's wrong.
No, what Pino was trying to say was he doesn't see them as black because like they're famous and they've achieved these great things, so they lost their blackness. Like an example of this is when O.J. Simpson once said, "I'm not black, I'm O.J." He tried to make himself bigger and lose his African American identity and just be known for the great things he can do. But when you reach that status, you still have to accept that half and part of that culture that is like ingrained into you, literally on your skin, and that's quite simply put it, what like OJ did is coonery. That's just straight up being a coon, Uncle Tom type shit. What we talk about difference between black people and niggas, we're talking about those who are okay, not who blame like the system they're put in, and they are put in a bad system, but perpetuate the negative stereotypes about them, perpetuate the endless cycle of pain, you know, wanting to be things they're not, you know, trying to be a rapper, trying to, like, you know, be a gang member, all this stuff, just perpetuating the negative stereotypes by ourselves instead of trying to better themselves and to improve themselves. And you talk about black people, those who are actually understand that they are put at a disadvantage, but through the odds, still want to try and get themselves out and help others and help themselves. So that's what we talk about, the difference between, like, black people and niggas. Now, there is a conflict between each other in terms of that case. But, however, I don't know if that truly answers why there's a conflict between black people as a whole and other minorities. So I'll give you an example of it. Like, I had a friend who I was talking about. I was asking her, like, you know, why do like Mexican, like, dads, like, not like their daughters, like, black boyfriends, or don't like black guys? And it's just like, she's telling me how, like, Mexicans can be, like, you know, racist, and it's a stereotype. It's a stereotype Mexicans are them being racist, especially to, like, other Hispanic people and other minorities. And it's thing is, like, they kind of see, like, the negative stereotypes portrayed about us, and they kind of, like, feed into them without, like, you know, kind of getting to know us almost. And I think, like, with some other minority groups, it's kind of like, when you're in that culture and, like, you're, like, kind of surrounded people you're of your own and not really integrating with the people of that culture, you kind of only hear about the negative stereotypes or have, like, bad interactions, so you don't really understand that there's more than what you just hear on the media or portrayed in, like, you know, stereotypes along, like, you know, TV shows and other media forms, I guess. Bri, if you have anything to say about that for that particular instance.
I want to spit some wisdom for you guys in terms of the Latino community. A Mexican's worst enemy is another Mexican.
But why?
I knew you were going to say that.
Because we hate on ourselves, bro. Like, if a Mexican is successful, they got a nice house, a nice family, a nice job. Another Mexican is literally going to diss the hell out of them. Meanwhile, the black friend, right? Like, say, like, you're like complimenting me, Yusef. You're like, damn, bro, you're doing real good in life. I mean, well, my other Mexican friend is, like, telling me to fuck off and, like, you know, talking shit behind my back. But I forgot. What was your question?
Wait, hold on. Before I'm gonna ask you the question, but I'm gonna add to that. Black people do the exact same thing. Meek Mill. I know, Will, you're one of your favorite artists, Meek Mill. I saw an interview with him on TikTok talking about how, as someone in the black, you get dissed on for trying to better yourself in the hood, right? You go out and buy a $1,500 camera, right? You know, trying to, like, learn the ins and outs of the camera, get good at production work, videography, and, like, you know, trying to really better yourself. And other guys in the hood would be like, damn, why does Bull following us around with a camera and shit? He a weirdo. And they diss on him for trying to better himself. And the thing is, like, that's, I think, not as much in the Asian community, but definitely in the African American Latino communities, you're almost, like, looked down upon for trying to better yourself. And, like, there's almost, like, that kind of, like, self-loathing and self-hatred when you see someone trying to break the stereotypes, trying to break the mold, and really trying to uplift themselves. But the question I was going to ask you, Bri, is why is there animosity between the African American community and Latino communities?
Oh, you were cool.
I thought we were cool too, but there's a lot of hatred, like, between the two. I think I see it more among, not all Hispanic and Latino Americans, of course, but one of the predominant ones is, like, Mexican and African Americans. It seems to be like Dominican, Cuban, and Puerto Rican and African Americans seem to have, like, a better connection, but, like, Mexican Americans seem to have less of a connection. I don't know your ethnicity, Bri, but I was just asking for Latinos and Hispanics.
Yeah. I mean, I am Mexican, so like, kind of got the right guy here. Well, man, I really don't.
I think it just has to do with, like, just that all these people share having the same, like, economic situations, and throughout history, when people are, like, stuck in that situation, there's a lot of resentment. And it kind of, when something happens, they kind of lash out, and it kind of happens with other groups, because, like, within these communities, they kind of, like, form groups together, and so they, like, a lot of times there's a little bit of rivalry or something past that. So, like, when this, like, you know, frustration grows with their own personal things, or something else happens, it really explodes because it's, like, amplified by what's going on with them and then the other groups, and they feel so against each other because of it.
Interesting. Well, why do you think there's a lot of animosity? I know you asked this and you asked me the question with another question, but I want to answer your question. I truly do want to get your thoughts on this. Why do you think there's animosity between minority groups like African American Latinos, Asians, and then like Latinos and African Americans, of course?
All right. So I think there's so much. All right. I wouldn't use. All right, I want to add one adjective to that, and that's competitiveness, right? I think a big portion of it is trying to outdo the other one, in a sense that they're trying to seem or portray a harder working or better image. One particular group is outperforming another, then the idea is that the other group is going to feel some type of way that they're doing something better than the other group. Kind of what... kind of as I forget who it was talked about earlier, right? I think that's a big part of it. I think one more thing. I think a lot of that could possibly even carry over today. Like, not even. Were you talking about in like present?
Like present, past. I'd say it still. I'd say it very much so still exists today. So definitely present, but past as well. So both.
Yeah. I definitely think that competitiveness or the outright competitiveness has calmed down a fair bit compared to the way it was then. Like everything, like nobody had filters back in like the 80s when this film was made. Nobody gave a fuck. People said and did whatever really they wanted, right? I mean, I think now it's a lot more, kept on the low. But like, I mean, you still hear people talk about it all the time.
I think this is a good way to tie this into some stereotypes. So I have some questions for you guys. What are some stereotypes? And just go for it, what are some stereotypes? Negative. I want purely negative stereotypes. Disclaimer: this is not stuff we believe. This are stereotypes, and that we're just using to appreciate this example to get to a reasoning, to find a reasoning why there might be animosity between minority groups and how it's portrayed within.
It's very smart that you said this now, Yusef.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, no, because what I'm about to ask you now is where like it can get bad. But so I'm gonna ask you questions about each minority group that's portrayed. So African Americans, Latinos,
lazy, violent, sexually promiscuous.
Oh my God, bro! Oh hell no, man! What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy! You get your goddamn ugly ass.
Nope.
It's minority groups yet. Well, I'm glad we put that out there. Lazy, violent, and sexually promiscuous. Good. What are some negative stereotypes? Well, not good, but we're just getting it down. What are some negative stereotypes about Asians?
Should have got Izzy for this.
Damn, she'd be upset.
No, don't get all now. You know the ones for black people. Come on now.
Can't drive.
Okay,
bad English.
Oh, yeah. Bad English. Okay.
Bad English.
I don't know. Eat dogs.
Eat dogs. This may not be not necessarily negative, but just
I don't know.
But just some labels they put on Asian
any
people.
form of meat at all.
Yeah. All right. I want to make it broader for Asian people because, like, I think we don't tend to think of some stereotypes as negative, but just some tags that we put on them, like maybe
they all look the same.
They all look the same, right? That's a big one.
They're all what?
Super smart.
That's not one. They're all
That's
super smart.
Positive one. I thought we were talking about like negative.
No, I know, but
stereotype.
Still a stereotype.
Yeah, I think I might have like misread this by saying negative, but just stereotypes as a whole because I think that it might help us get to the closest answer.
Right, so we said like sketchy food, good at math. They all look the same.
What do we talk about Asian products? Like what is a common theme with like Asian products in terms of what we buy?
They're cheap.
They're cheap. They're cheap. Okay. Okay. Good.
Big on school, right? Very family oriented. Like
strict.
I would say old school. Strict.
Now, what are some stereotypes about Hispanic and Latino people?
I'll let you guys do this one.
Okay. So, one is that they're all immigrants / all legal. Another one is that they quote unquote steal all the jobs. Two is that they can be very loud and that they're always swearing.
Is it?
Yes, it's a big
All right.
one. Is that they're always angry and always swearing. Like that's how like you ever see like the stereotypical Latino like always just yelling.
That just sounds like an
and
Italian though.
Always drinking or smoking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, drinking. I'll give you that. We do like to drink. We do like to party. Partying is very big. As someone who was just at a party last Saturday, I can vouch for it.
Alright. Yeah.
I would add to that, unwilling to assimilate to the American culture. We're not doing that. And unwillingness to learn the language with our broken English.
But so the question was, how are these stereotypes portrayed in the movie, and how do they affect the way characters interact with each other? So
I don't think any of the stereotypes we mentioned for the Hispanic community or the Hispanic minority were really portrayed that much.
Are you sure about that? What does Mookie mention about Tina that she always does?
Well, there were a couple things here and there, but it wasn't like, you know,
it wasn't super important, right?
It wasn't important, but I think it is important.
They're still there.
I think it adds to the dynamic of the movie. So what is some things Mookie mentions about Tina when they're talking? What are some things Tina does throughout the story? You guys remember Tina, right? Mookie's.
Oh wait, I would say there is that stereotype that they're always loud because like when they're always yelling,
she's always constantly arguing with
cursing. You keep saying to not curse.
Cursing all the time. There's a scene between Radio Raheem and a group of Latinos. What's going on there?
The speaker.
The speaker.
They're playing their music.
Brian, you mentioned not willing to assimilate to the culture. They're trying to like, you know, listen to their music on the whole time. And they're using, and the thing is, but here's another thing. He's saying not wanting to learn the language. They're always mixing in Spanish within their English at all times. We see Tina's mom do this, we see Tina do this, and we see Latinos in the scene with Radio Raheem do this as well.
With the ghetto blaster, that's correct.
Exactly.
That thing looks pretty cool, by the way.
That's a dope ass boombox.
It was. It's pretty cool.
Those are some stereotypes that are portrayed by the characters. So we see, like we said, we see Tina being overly loud, overly swearing, mixing constantly, like just going straight to Spanish whenever she's angry, pretty much, or integrating Spanish into her sentences and conversations all the time, even when she's not interacting with Spanish-speaking people. The same can be said for the group of Latinos that were having a little music off with Radio Raheem, like trying to play their music as loud as possible, not really want to assimilate to maybe the more popular music in an area, and like, you know, again, not assimilating to the language of the culture. Were they drinking at all? I don't think they were. They were drinking. Another stereotype. They were drinking.
Like to drink.
So what are some of the stereotypes we see portrayed by some black characters?
Oh, I mentioned lazy, and I mean Mookie is basically lazy, I would say. Well, at least he's not hardworking. Let's put it that way.
Would you say Mookie's the only character who's lazy? Or are there any other characters who portray that way as well? That was lazy, not hardworking. Black characters specifically.
Yeah. I mean,
could you say like some of the crowd, like the like I don't know, like bugging out.
I mean, maybe.
And then like the whole entourage, like I don't know what their name is. The whole group.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, that group. Yeah. That group.
How would you say about Sweet Dick? What was his name?
Sweet Dick Willie.
Yeah, Sweet Dick Willie and his little group, his little trio. What was the conversation they were kind of having, which kind of ties into the whole laziness aspect?
Was the one we're talking about getting a boat? That one, or was it something else?
Well, no. Well, it was talking about how they were talking about how they were going to open up a restaurant. How they said they kept saying that they were going to do it, but they've been talking about it for like years, decades.
They don't do it. So that's prime example of being lazy, right?
Yeah,
and then they let out their frustration on the Korean family that was able to do it when they recently got to the country, right?
Absolutely. What are some others? We said loud, aggressive. Do we see them being loud and aggressive?
Yes. Everyone is always loud and aggressive. There was no one that wasn't loud and aggressive. Everyone was yelling at each other.
I just want to know, what were some examples of that happening throughout the film that you guys noticed, of the black people being loud and aggressive throughout the film?
Like every other scene, someone was yelling.
I mean, for some reason, the scene with the shoe, with the Larry Bird jersey guy, that seemed pretty, I get it. You stepped on your shoe, but that felt really aggressive when everybody started piling up and basically made a mob.
Mm-hmm.
Was that?
What were they trying to get him to do in that scene? What were they trying to get Bugging out to do in that scene? Did you guys the entourage? Martin Lawrence's entourage.
They were trying to get each other to fight or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then he backed out last second.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. What were some sexually promiscuous? Do you see any sexually promiscuous acts from African Americans throughout this? Will, did you notice any sexually promiscuous acts from African Americans throughout this film? Any
Not really. The only one I saw was when Mookie was over at Tina's place.
Bingo. What does Tina say to Mookie when he first gets there? And what is like Mookie like trying to get at the whole time? Like kind of like go through that scene for me and kind of explain what happens there.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you, Will.
Oh.
Well,
the whole time Mookie's just trying to convince her to, fuck. That's his objective the whole time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hers though is just like it's too hot, trying to avoid it. Talking about how like he never comes over, he never, he's never around.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
I got one. Their dads always leave. You forgot that stereotype.
Damn, bro, you got the whole squad laughing.
You're right, Will.
Mm-hmm. Now, last one is what did we say? It's the Koreans and the stereotypes about Koreans. We said can't speak English that well. We talked about products being cheap or like not reliable. We talked about being strict. And are you seeing any examples of any of those stereotypes throughout the film portrayed within the Korean characters?
I want to say that with the beer scene, when the mayor's trying to get this specific brand of beer, and apparently they didn't have it, and he was like, I think he literally said, "You guys are cheap for not having the beer that I like."
Mm-hmm.
So that's one example right there, right? They're quote unquote cheap, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I mean, not too much. Just that it's on just any sort of racial tension with all the groups.
Well, did we see them like any examples of them like with trouble with the language barrier?
You look at the batteries.
Yeah. When what's his name went in for the batteries?
Radio
Rahim. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Radio Rahim went in for the batteries.
And any examples of them being strict?
Not really. Think about
I
it.
ain't seen too much.
That one, I don't think that one was really
not necessarily in terms of strict parenting, but just strict in the way they interact with the customers in the store. Did we notice anything with that?
Not really, and I wouldn't even say be strict. They just had respect for themselves, because there was one point they were calling them nicknames. The three old guys, when he was going to go buy, I think, a beer or something, or I think he was going to buy ice or something. I don't remember at this point, but he was calling them names, and the Asian guy, the owner of the shop, was like, "Don't call me that, like don't," because he was calling them nicknames, offensive nicknames, if I'm not mistaken.
Yusef, how long are we at now? I think we're in pretty far, actually. We need to move on with the plot.
Well, no, I didn't. No, because here's the only thing about the plot is like I realized talking about the plot wasn't going to get us anywhere. So I think it'd be better just talk about the characters and then explain about the interactions, and then we kind of.
We just have to get to the point. We have to get to the point where things kind of take a turn.
Yeah, I think let's just wrap.
We got to talk about Sal's family and all that.
Yeah, so I think let's kind of wrap up with like the final act, and then we'll just give final reviews, and then obviously I'll have to cut some of this episode down.
Cut the part where I talk shit. Thank you.
That's staying in.
Keep that part in, Yusef. You got to keep the part where you put on the mask in.
Fuck. Right.
Absolutely. All right. So.
Oh yeah, I got a video of it. By the way.
I've got a video of it too. It's all here.
Yeah, but I sent it to Noel.
All right. So let's get into like the final act of the story. So as we know already, Bugging Out wants them to be African Americans on the wall. Sal is not going to have it because it's Italian-owned store. It's his pride and joy.
And Bugging Out's just being annoying.
Trying to get people to join in. No one really cares about it, except for one person who gets to join in. Radio Raheem. And he gets him to join him because him and Sal have a little back and forth over him playing his radio. And a lot of people seem to have an issue with him playing his radio everywhere. It's kind of annoying. No one really likes him playing that music overly loud except for a little boy. Everyone else is kind of, he's fucking up everybody else's shit, man.
Kind of blasting. Everyone's just chilling,
relaxing. So this final act, when Sal lets in Martin Lawrence's little gang, and then that's the rest of them coming. Will, take us through that scene and kind of just give us your thoughts on that.
All right. Well, initially, they were all standing around, or Sal, his two boys, and Mookie are all standing around, just talking, getting ready to close up for the night, and the group of four come up to the door and they're like banging on it, trying to get in, being like, "Oh, you guys ain't closed yet. Like, just let us in." And Mookie's the first one to actually go up and tell them to like go away and everything. Until Sal's like, "Ah, whatever, just bring them in." And as soon as they come in, and Sal goes to get ready to make a couple slices, Radio Raheem comes in and he came in first, right? And
they all walked in together pretty much. Him, Radio Raheem, and Smiley.
Oh yeah,
bugging out, and then what's the other guy's name? Smiley.
Yeah.
Because he was also because he got pissed off because of
big video match. This keeps intensifying. Sal grabs a bat, starts beating the boombox, breaking it and everything, and obviously that's the tipping point to everything.
All right,
everything
so how
do
you feel about that kind of scene, that back and forth between everyone? How do you guys feel about that back and forth between Radio Raheem and Sal? That this is kind of the climax of the movie. So what were some you guys thoughts about the interaction between the two? Maybe the camera angles, stuff like that. How do you guys feel about it, really?
Do I think he should have just shut up and just turned that shit off? Yes.
Yeah.
Right? That's just loud as hell. I would have been annoyed too.
Both good for out of pocket.
But you gotta understand, that is his whole identity. It's like if you turn off the boombox, you're killing the man himself, because that's his thing. That's his pride and joy. So it's like, do you respect his I guess what he's really into, which is his whole personality, or do you just tell him, or do you break it? Breaking it is that was a no-go. You should have never have broken it. But you gotta understand the circumstances when everybody's yelling at each other. His sons are defending him. Radio Raheem and his squad is defending him. It's gonna get it's gonna get messy. And on top of all this, it's hot as hell.
A lot of chaos. Things go crazy pretty quickly. Once something happens, it's hard to stop it.
And then once that happens, it goes to shit. Radio Raheem starts strangling Sal. Him and Sal go back and forth. Goes out to the park, and out of all people, the mayor comes over to try and break it up, but to no avail. And eventually, the cops get called, and this is kind of where it just gets really bad, because the cops come called. They put the nightstick around his neck, and they choke out Radio Raheem. Choke him out to death. But this is...
And one of the cops was saying to stop it, right?
Mm-hmm. But
yeah, one of them was.
Oh, we're gonna get into that. Oh my god, there's so much shit. I feel like we saw
it really goes to 100 in a second.
It does.
Once the cops arrive.
The second that happens, the cops arrive and they put Bugging Out and Smiley in the back of the cop car, and Radio Raheem's dead body in the back of the car. They kick his dead body, saying, "You're not really dead." Blah blah blah. All this, and they put him all in the back of the cop cars. They don't arrest Sal. They don't arrest Pino. They don't arrest Vito. And this is where Mookie has his biggest decision of the story. And this goes back to the title of...
One time where he does do something.
Of do the right thing. Something that the mayor told him to always do the right thing. And this is this is where the open-ended begins of, does Mookie do the right thing by inciting the riot, by throwing the trash can into Sal's window? And when that happens, place gets violated, raided. And then they go to raid the Korean place next, and the Korean man, who seemed throughout the film to have issues with a lot of the African Americans, was like, "We're the same. I'm black too. We are the same. We are the same." Now he wants to take the stance of we're the same, where he was not rocking with them earlier, but they let him go. And that's kind of like how this ends. So my question to you guys of two things.
Big question.
A couple questions. Who's in the wrong in the situation in terms of why Radio Raheem? Should have Radio Raheem been killed? Should Sal have been arrested?
Should have been killed.
No. I'm asking you this question though. Do you think what the police did was right or okay? Do you think Sal should have been arrested for his aggressions against Raheem? Do you think bugging out Raheem went too far by busting into the place, playing loud music, even after being told not to do that several times? And do you think Mookie did the right thing by throwing the trash can into Sal's restaurant?
So, yes, a lot of questions.
I maybe only remember a couple of those questions that you asked.
One thing I know I can say, and I think everyone here can say, is the one group that's definitely wrong were the cops killing Radio Raheem. Clearly, they didn't need to go that far. They could have handcuffed him when they had him detained, but they didn't. And so he died because of what they did, and clearly that shouldn't have happened. With everyone else in this movie, with Saul, his family, Radio Raheem, Smiley, Mookie, bugging out, all of them made decisions, and none of them were right, but none of them were completely wrong either. All of them were somewhere in a gray area, I feel like. there's no completely right or wrong answer, I feel like, for any of the decisions that they made. I feel like I can't 100% say yes or no to either of what action was done in that case. I mean, you can say no to all of it, but you also can't say like yes to all of it.
I think every action throughout the whole movie wasn't necessarily like. I mean, I pretty much agree with you, but I think that every action wasn't a bad choice, but it definitely wasn't per se the right one, or the best one that could have been chosen. And it was a little frustrating that watching it and sitting there and just listening to how
whatever unfolded, everything that unfolded was unfortunate. It's not what you wanted to see. It didn't really help anything. Exactly. Nothing. It didn't bring back Raheem. It didn't bring peace at all. This wasn't a happy ending. No one got what they wanted in the end.
I'd like to add how seeing Sal, the one person that I thought was like, the most logical, like the person that I thought would do the right thing genuinely, was the one that kind of like he got super angry, dude. Like really angry. And Sal doesn't seem like the type to get that way. Maybe his son, like a pedo, like yeah, maybe him, but not Sal. So when I saw Sal reach that level of rage, it felt to me that nobody, like those were his true colors all along. When I first saw it, I was like, damn. So he was like low key just hiding it. Like he really was not liking a bunch of black folks going into his shop. But later on, after watching the movie, I realized that this was all because of the frustration he had with the customers. And at the same time, I question, like, does he still have some sort of hatred towards the black community, or does he not?
My question to you is, Bryan, who do you think influenced you more? Do you think Sal was able to influence Pino more, or do you think what Pino's words influenced Sal more?
In that circumstance, Pino. Because he was already out for it. Like he already had this hatred, or not hatred. He had this, dislike for the
mindset.
He had the mindset, right? Yeah. And this was probably the best scenario where he's kind of useful because he wants to incite that violence that he already, he showed throughout the movie. Even when Mookie tried to explain it to him as well. He totally wasn't listening.
One you said before, it's like it wasn't necessarily a whole group thing. It was more so an individual thing where he just got so pissed off. Everything got to him and things went off the rails. And clearly there was some sort of like racism towards it, but I don't think he's like totally racist. And I think it was just out of kind of like sheer like anger and frustration for everything that built up that had happened. For what followed, I don't think that's justice. He didn't murder Radio Raheem. He might have he said some racist things they shouldn't have said, but and destroyed the radio, but that's not as all what should have happened. That's not what should have transpired because of those events.
Mm-hmm. Now the big question here is, this is the decision of the movie. Do the right thing. Does Mookie do the right thing by throwing the trash can through the window?
It depends on what perspective you take on the whole thing.
Well, Will, I want to hear your perspective.
You know what? I want to hear your perspective. Instead of you asking all these questions all big and mighty.
I'm asking all these questions because I'm trying to keep everybody involved. I don't want to
get well, you get involved then.
Yeah,
all right, I was talking to my mom about this a bit earlier, but in terms of does Mookie do the right thing, in my perspective of how I view racial injustice, violence is never the answer. However, MLK once said, violence are the cries of the unheard. But I still don't believe violence. I don't think Mookie does the right thing.
I think the thing that kind of throws off the most is when he says hate right before it. The fact that he just says that, like, I don't know. I mean, like I said before, I think it's a very gray area. It's not that he's completely wrong, but it's not right. It's not the right thing, but it's also not completely the wrong thing.
I think...
So, yeah, it depends on your perspective on the whole thing. Right? I mean...
I couldn't help but watch this and feel like it was the wrong thing to do. Because I don't feel like it helped anybody. I feel like all the progress characters made throughout the movies just kind of gets undone. Like, I feel like no one was changed. No one's life was... I think the only people who are really changed by everything... Actually, no. Because I still can't think that they were changed either. But I think, if anything, Pino ends up being right about all the stereotypes about black people. And now Sal, Vito, and Pino are all going to have this tattered relationship with the African-American community. I mean, all the black people will still be cool with each other. But now the Korean people are going to have a certain view of the black people because they try to go after their story. And only further perpetuates the negative stereotypes about us. And I feel like no one's perspective and reasoning was ever changed by this. And I think it did more harm than it did good. So I don't think he does the right thing here. And I think the mayor telling him, like, no, stay away. Listen, Sal's not responsible for Raheem's death. The police are, trying to tell him to calm down. Like, that's just kind of where it all goes to shit, really. Like, I think the mayor trying to keep the peace is, like, what we should have done. And I think...
See, that should have been Sal. Sal should have been the mayor. People in circumstance.
But here's the difference, though. Why would people listen to Sal after they just watched Raheem die at the police? Because they're all blaming him for the reason. Because I think Pino called the police. So they're blaming his family. So I think people weren't going to listen to Sal regardless. I think the
Mookie was definitely the one in power.
I think, if anything, Mookie and or the mayor were the ones who had to try to keep the peace. And Mookie had a decision. And I think this is where I talk about decision. Mookie has a decision there, and that's to either keep the peace or start the riot. And he goes and starts the riot. And that's the decision right there he has to make. And I think this is what we talk about Mookie avoiding responsibility. This is the one time he needs to take responsibility because he doesn't really hop on Sal's side. He doesn't really hop on Buckenhouse's side. He tries to stay out of all the conflicts, and he tries to avoid his responsibilities at all costs. Not really seeing his child, not really taking his job serious. This is a constant theme with him, of him avoiding responsibility. And I think this is like sums up his character as a whole right here. And him not being capable of doing the right thing because at the end of the day, he is a bum. I think there's some solace in this. Because I think after the situation, Mookie is changed and realized he does need to get his shit together. Which is why he comes to Sal and gets some money afterwards and explains, like, he realizes he's been avoiding responsibility in his whole life, and it all came to really bite him in the ass at that moment. Like, all these things that happened, accumulated, are because of me, because I chose not to take the shit I do serious. Like, and it may not be directly like he calls the situation, but him directly avoiding all his problems, all his responsibilities, indirectly led to Radio Raheem's death. And I think he understands that. Which is why he realized he needs to get his shit together. And that's why him and Sal had that final conversation at the end. So yeah. Anyone else?
It's a it's a good movie. It kind of represents, the biggest comparisons is with MLK and Malcolm X, with like how you respond to injustice with either a more passive way or a more aggressive way. And I think the movie portrays the finale climax in a very powerful way that's very realistic. No one really gets what they want. It's all very, what happens, and it's kind of gray area. There's no one that's completely right or wrong, except for maybe the cops, which are in the wrong.
Yeah.
But besides that, every character in this movie, it has some sort of, mutual ground which you can relate to and also not relate to in some way. And everyone's very human and relatable. And so this movie does a really good job as portraying, the world as it is and how things happen.
The world as it is for the protagonist.
I've heard that phrase too much. I think Jerry's, getting into my head, Yusef.
Okay.
I was thinking that as I was saying that.
But alright, does anyone else have anything? Oh, go for it, Will.
Yeah, I do have something to say. Thank you.
Right off the chest, Will.
I think Spike Lee does a great job at what's it called? But making it really obvious what, like, morally, what in particular situations, what you would do, right? I mean, in the situation of, again, we're just gonna, because we're talking about the ending, the climax, right? And since we're talking about Mookie throwing the trash through the window, then they're thinking about it, and they're watching. It's like, obviously, I'm probably not going to end up throwing that trash can, because that a whole bunch of bullshit's just going to come after you do that, and it's just not going to be a good time, right? And it's just going to cause a whole bunch more problems, right? Sitting there as a viewer watching it, you're just like, why the hell would you do that? But inherently, when you start thinking about it, it could have been the right decision, but at the same time, it couldn't have been.
Interesting.
Like that, making the decision to go, take all that extra time when he went to go deliver that pizza to Tina, right? I mean, I don't think this had any real, impact on the rest of the movie, but, it's really obvious, like, he's at work, technically. If you were at work and you saw that, you'd be like, oh, I'll just see you afterwards, or I'll come over afterwards or something. But in that moment, he chose, obviously, to stay.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, after finishing watching this movie the first time around, I felt like I had to, like, really think as to where I stand and all that. And I think that was the whole point, like you said, Will. Like, he really makes you think, like, about, first of all, what you would do in that situation if you were Mookie. Is this the right thing to do or not? But just in general, like, how would I have reacted? Would I have kept my cool? Or would I have been just like Sal? Would I have been like the mayor? And it makes you think, okay, which character would I have been? And everybody does that. They make scenarios in their head, right? And I think this is the perfect scenario for the audience to really think about that, right?
Yeah, especially because, as I think we talked about earlier, Spike Lee does a really good job making the movie feel human-like. Like it feels almost like a completely real situation that, probably occurred at some point.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, you totally see how, like, those riots, like, occurred, like, not everyone knew exactly what happened, but, like, instantly, once shit hit the fan, it's very black and white as to, like, what people were thinking. There's no one kind of, like, questioning. It's like, oh, these are the bad guys, or these are the bad guys. There was no middle ground. Everyone was, like, very strong on something that they thought they knew.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that, again, because, I feel he did a really good job making the movie feel human, therefore the conversations throughout the movie felt like actually two people from New York were just standing there fucking around talking to each other. I think that really was a good way to kind of put the viewer into the situation and feel like they could make the same decisions they were making, or pick a different decision to do something else. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just the feeling I got from watching it.
No, I agree with you.
I get you.
Actually, you guys have made this very interesting now. What would you guys have done? It's Bryan just died. The cops just took Buggin out. They arrested Buggin out. What do you guys do in this situation? You're Mookie. You're not you. You are Mookie. What do you think you guys do in this situation? And I'll answer too.
I mean, I feel like I'm a pretty passive person, but it's like, I don't know. Like, if I saw like a close friend die, I don't know how I would react in that moment.
To be honest, in the moment, I'd probably end up reacting the way Mookie acted, mainly because, I mean, if I were in the same circumstances, in the same situation, you know, a lot of times people will think more with their emotions than actual logic. So
That's
one
true.
thing will lead to another, and then that's just the way it would end up.
That's true.
That's your honest, Will.
That's a fair point. That's another thing I don't think I considered of. Acting, when you're in a situation like that, there is a higher chance of you acting with emotions instead of with logic. So, that's a good point. Bryan, how do you think you would act if you were Mookie in that situation?
I'd like to think I'd be like the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like you said, I mean, emotions are one hell of a drug, bro, so I don't know. But I'm going to go with mayor, though. I'd like to think I'd try to somehow meet the middle ground. Like, I'd try to negotiate. Because I didn't really have a stake in any of this. Like, I'm not really biased. Like, I'm right in the middle.
The viewer.
Yeah. I mean, I would, definitely want to, sitting here thinking that, yeah, honestly, I'd want to, handle the situation the way the mayor would handle that situation. But if I'm legitimately putting myself in, trying to think about myself in that situation, I'm probably not going to do that.
That's a fair point. I don't know if I'm a very emotional person. So I think if I was Mookie in that situation, I think there's a good chance I would end up doing the same.
Oh, that shit, bro.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance.
Hurl that shit through the window. Don't act like you wouldn't.
I think I probably would. I want to, because I also believe myself to be a very logical person as well. But I think in a situation like this, I think the emotions would just take over, and I think there's only one outcome at that point.
Correct.
But yeah, all right. Any final thoughts before we give our final reviews on the movie?
I wish the DJ pulled up last second or something. I wish Samuel L. Jackson, showed up. Started narrating the fight.
It was interesting how quickly actually kept Samuel L. Jackson's character completely, almost out of the picture completely.
Yeah, he's just in the studio the whole time.
Samuel L. Jackson would be one of the lead roles.
Well, if you give Samuel L. Jackson a lead role, all that budget has to go directly to him, because this was like Samuel Jackson's prime this time frame.
Jackson pulled up, he would have beat everybody up.
Yeah. Yeah, like 80s, 90s Samuel L. Jackson, yeah, he's kind of one of the biggest actors at that time. It's you gotta have a wild paycheck for that man.
But I have nothing else to say, really.
Yeah.
Just
final thoughts.
Makes you think.
Yeah, I think that's it. Really, honestly, I really enjoyed this movie. Especially, I think I enjoyed it a lot more as we really talked through it and kind of discussed. I think I realized a lot of things. I was thinking the character dynamics, the stereotypes that are being portrayed, how the characters interact with each other. I think when we really discussed it, my opinion of the movie changed as well. And I'm not really thinking I really do like this film. So, let's go reviews. Will, what is your review of the movie out of 10?
Out of 10? Give it a solid 7.5.
7.5. Wow.
Damn.
7.5, yeah.
Bryan.
We give it a solid 8.
8. Tim, what's your review of the movie?
I think 8, but the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm enjoying the whole, political aspect of it, and how great it is at conveying what it wants to convey. So I'm thinking 8.5 towards 8.5 now.
Yeah.
The one thing the thing I ding it for the most is like the beginning half is kind of slow, and not much goes on. It feels a little awkward at times. I mean, I can understand why he does it as he does, but it does take away from the movie a little bit. But as it goes on, like the last act is very emotional and very thought-provoking, which I think really carries this movie.
I think I'm the only person that has the highest rating, but I'm going to give this a 9, and here's my reasoning for it. Tim, for the reason you just mentioned, you said the first half goes on a lot, but like as we're kind of discussing this film, I'm just kind of realizing the first half has a lot more meaning that I think we're really like considering. Because I think we're talking about was like portrayals of stereotypes, portrayals of characters, and how that affects the characters in the story, how it affects interactions between different groups in the story. And I think the first half takes a lot of time setting up that idea so we can really understand the world we are in. I agree
with that, and I also remember my rating. I think is a little bit more like, I usually rank a little bit lower than you guys normally do. So for me, that's like a higher rating. It's like a good movie, an average good movie is like a 6.
Really, an average good movie is like a 7.
A little above average is 7. 8 is memorable. And above that is like pretty memorable.
That's very high standards, Yusef. You gotta understand this.
7 is like
10 means it's completely perfect in my opinion. Absolutely perfect. 9 is pretty close to perfect.
Yeah.
Just a little bit below. 8, it's at that range where it's like there was a little bit of like I didn't enjoy in the beginning, but I also understand what the director's trying to do, but it dings it off for my personal taste. But I really like what he did, so I gave it like an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a 9. So, Will, thank you for joining us on this episode. Did you enjoy being on this episode with us?
Of course. Really thought-provoking, I'll say that.
Yeah, this is definitely a more serious episode than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, we really delved into it, didn't we?
Yeah, and I think that happened because I think we realized how serious this movie actually was when we started talking about the themes. We're like, oh, wait, hold on.
I think this film is important. It's not just...
I think we all went in thinking this was going to be a shorter episode, and this seems to be like a longer one.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do some work on that.
We're almost 2 hours.
Yeah, no cap. I'm definitely have to do some work on this bitch, but it was definitely great having you on, man. And for those of you out there, please like, share, subscribe, comment for the algorithm. Follow
share us, promote us.
Yeah, exactly. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter.
Anything that's good for numbers.
Exactly. Will, make sure to share this with everyone at your university because we need these views. We're trying to get loud out here, bro.
Best believe we'll be passing it out.
And I added some memes in the last episode. I don't know if there's going to be any memes in this episode. So comment down below if you guys like the memes. Also comment if there's anything we can improve or anything you guys like to see, any movies you'd like us to review. But anything you guys want to say before we roll out?
Should we mention next week's pick or no?
Do we have that
My next?
already?
Yeah, your next, Bryan.
I'm keeping it being with you guys. I don't know what I'm picking. I'm picking something.
Let's keep it a surprise.
Okay.
He doesn't love surprises. Surprise next pick. Alright guys. Thanks for watching. And
Alright.
Do we have an ending tag? We can come up with an ending tag. Like something to say. Let's say goodbye to
some cheesy things like, and that's a cut. Something like that.
And that's a cut. We're gonna say on 3. 1, 2, 3. And that's a cut.
That's a cut.
Alright, you gotta work on that.
Yeah.